Welcome to Navigating Hope, your compass to health empowerment. I'm Dr. Jaime Hope, steering you through healthcare, overcoming overwhelm, personal goals, and emergencies. We'll navigate the healthcare maze with actionable insights and real-world advice, unlocking the secrets to a healthier, more vibrant life. Join us to take control of your well-being and make informed decisions for your health and your future. Stay with us as we unravel the mysteries of medicine, wellness, and life's unforeseen challenges, helping you bypass the ER with a dose of knowledge. Stay tuned till the end of the episode with a recap of your actionable insights and a free gift. Let's chart a course to your well-being together. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Navigating Hope. I am very excited to be joined today by Dr. Torkil Færø. He's a doctor, photographer, and best-selling author, well known for his innovative approaches to health and wellness. In his latest book, The Pulse Cure, he breaks down how individuals can use heart rate monitors, smartphones, and other technology to gain a deeper understanding of your body. Through this method, he guides you on how to improve your sleep quality, spot early signs of illness and disease, combat burnout and chronic fatigue. I'm sure there are many listeners who are experiencing these things, and regulating your stress balance and autonomic nervous system. His work aims to empower people to take control of their health by leveraging accessible technology. So, Dr. Færø, thank you so much for being here with us. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Jamie. It's so nice to be here.
Yes. So I always like to start with origin stories. So this is such valuable, very well scientific backed information and research that you're going to share. But so what got you interested in the pulse? What drove you to find that specific vital sign to be your passion?
I just heard about it, or I read about it in the book of Bessel van der Kolk. It's called The Body Keeps the Score. And then I read that the heart rate variability is such an important metric for tracking the autonomic nervous system, to track the overall condition of our bodies. And well, some time after that, I understood that it's possible to use wearables, ECG monitors and smartwatches and smart rings and all of this, to track this heart rate variability, and so that we're able to have control of the intensity of our body, so to speak, the state of our autonomic nervous system, whether it's too much stressed, and that we may not be good enough to relax and de-stress and find the right balance. Because you probably know as well as me that now 80–90% of the diseases that we treat as doctors, they have their base in too much stress over time, and resulting in a chronic inflammation. And without this kind of a compass to the state of our body, we were kind of in the blue. I thought I was relaxed until I started using these wearables and saw that, well, I'm not like that. There's so much stress going on, but it's not, for me, it's not mental stress. It's more foods, alcohol, so many other things than the traditional thing that we think about when we're talking about stress.
It's so interesting because sometimes we are just kidding ourselves saying we're not stressed when we're trying to just stuff it down. But there are, like you said, there's other stressors. We're breathing in air pollution. We are, it's the inflammatory foods we eat and the other inputs. So I love your concept of kind of this energy or body budget. So the things that cost us and the things that benefit us. Can you explain that to the audience? Because it's such a helpful way to look at things.
Yeah, we have food that will create inflammation in our systems. If we drink alcohol, if we don't sleep enough, if we don't exercise enough, this will have an impact on our physiology. That will be kind of the cost of the nervous system. And then on the other side, we can do like cold plunges, we can do breath work, we can eat healthy food, we can stay hydrated, and we can have good relations, and many things on the plus side that can balance this kind of toxic stresses on our body. So it's all kind of a body budget where we have to make sure that we get enough rest to balance the stress in our lives. And for us modern people, we are too stressed, all of us. And that is also what most people find when they start using the watches, that they are more stressed than they thought. So, and then you start having this kind of a speedometer to your health, and then you can find out that, oh, I don't tolerate candy or sweets or crisps very much. It creates stress way into the night. The things that I would never think about before. Yeah, and you find out that the cold shower and the breath work, if you do that during a stressful meeting, you can mitigate the stress and keep control. And that is why it's been such a bestseller in Norway. It's still almost 2 years after its release in Norway. It's still number 7 on the bestseller charts because it works, and it's still the only book in the world on how to use wearables and having this as a guidebook onto how to sleep better, how to eat better, how to exercise in the proper dosage of exercise, how to find calm and regulate your stress. What about alcohol? That alcohol is kind of the big stressor. That's the worst one. According to Whoop, you have the Whoop band I saw. And according to Whoop, alcohol is the worst stressor of all. And I used to think that it would calm me down. And once you see the result on your watch, it's no doubt that it's detrimental to your stress balance, and the first thing that you need to cut out if you want to perform better. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very funny that what we think we know, and then when we have actual data that we're looking at, people think, oh, a glass of wine before bed helps me sleep better. But it's crystal clear that the data says that is not the case. You actually get worse sleep, worse heart rate variability, and more stress.
Yeah. So when you feel sluggish in the morning, it is not just a feeling, it's just a result of your body having worked so hard during the night. And I can compare it to, it's just as hard as me having a lecture in front of 200 people. It's the same intensity that is revealed in the heart rate. And the heart rate will respond to any demand on our bodies. So we can see even the subtle demands that can last for hours and you don't really think about, but that is also taxing your system. So you can find these energy thieves that is kind of sapping you of your forces almost without you even knowing about it. So I think it's an incredibly useful thing. And I think actually for the stress related diseases that we are treating now these days, it's as important as antibiotics for the infectious diseases that we, used to have and still have, of course. But it's the same magnitude of effect and usefulness of this tool.
And that's such a great comparison because if you have a bad bacterial infection, antibiotics fight it and help you. And when you're looking at this body budget, we have all the things that take away our energy and cost us, and all of the things that can benefit and kind of almost give us energy, like giving us money. And that I love that comparison. And when you get to actual data and see what really does cost you versus what really does benefit you.
Yeah, because we are not evolutionary. We are not developed to feel this because it has never been a problem. Throughout the 100,000 and millions of years, being too stressed has never been a problem. When we did not hunt or was hunted for, we relaxed and did more or less nothing than gather food, and then sleeping all night. Not like today with too little sleep, too much social media, too much scrolling on our phones and all of this. So, yeah.
Yeah, we have the world at our fingertips, and unfortunately, we're using that to not sleep. I love when people are in the middle of the night searching, how can I sleep? That's on their
Yeah.
phone. So, heart rate variability is one of those things you mentioned. So, your pulse obviously is your heartbeat, right? But
Yeah.
this heart rate variability concept is becoming more and more people are understanding the importance of it is as a huge indicator of health. Can you teach us what that is and how we can utilize it?
Yeah. I would say that heart rate variability is a way of looking at the heart rate with a magnifying glass. So you can see so much more than you can just from your heart or your pulse rate. So the heart rate variability is a variation between heartbeats. And we have in our brains and in our nervous system, we have the autonomic nervous system, the one that we share with all vertebrates, all mammals. It's kind of the foundations in our brain, really, really old. That's why in the book, I call it the living fossil in our brain that we still have to consider and to know how it works. Anyway, this autonomic nervous system, it has a mobilizing part, the sympathetic nervous system, that gives us energy to go hunt for what we want and fly away from what is chasing us, historically seen, of course. So if we are in the sympathetic fight and flight mode, then our heart rate will beat at a very steady pace, like a metronome, because we have to use all available forces to survive the next moment. But we can't be in that state all the time. We will wear out very, very fast. So we have this ancient also parasympathetic system that comes in to recover, to make us restore the cell damage from the hard chase or whatever. And in the parasympathetic mode, when we breathe in, then the heart rate goes up a little bit. And when we breathe out, the heart rate goes down a little bit because it's less oxygen in the lungs, and it will save some energy by reducing the heart rate. And this is the way that the watches can see that whether we are in the stress mode or in the de-stressed restorative mode. And for how, the intensity of it in both ways, and then accumulate it over time, like you can see it in the moment. I can at any moment check my stress level, but I can also see it throughout the day and night. So it's like having a speedometer that is always on, that you can always check that it's always available. And it kind of shifts the power from us doctors in the healthcare system into your own hands. So you have the control yourself. And that is the important thing about it.
I love that. It really gives people that personal autonomy and sense of control over their health.
Yeah. And it also shifts the focus from after you get sick until before you get sick, or to avoid you getting sick, because you will never get into a burnout situation without these devices warning you for a long time, months in beforehand, that you are heading, towards a kind of disaster. There will be alarm flashings all over, because it will see and register that you are taxing yourself too much compared to your power, so to speak.
So let's talk about wearable devices then, because I wear the Whoop as I showed you, and I have my Apple Watch. And so the Whoop in particular, so it'll text me, it'll message me and say, hey, you were this stressed, or hey, you need to plan for an optimal bedtime. You got great rest last night, you'll have good energy. You got terrible rest last night, you need to be kinder to yourself. It's really amazing, the technology. So share about how we can, like, some brands that you know and how we can utilize that.
Yeah, I have been using the Whoop band as you have. And by the way, the soccer player Cristiano Ronaldo, I'm not sure you're probably not into soccer, but he's kind of
Oh
the world's
no,
best soccer
yes,
player.
football, yeah.
Yeah, football. And he says that having the Whoop band is like having a doctor on his wrist. And I very much agree with him on that. So, and the Whoop band is very good because it will give you in the morning this recovery rate that you can see, okay, how well are you recovered from the day before? And it will give you an estimate of how much forces do you have to spend this day, physiological forces. And it will give you advice, as you say, from artificial intelligence that will give you advice on what to do this day. But even better than the Whoop, I think, and much better than the Apple Watch, it's the Garmin watches. So they have
Mm.
this body battery system that will give you an estimate in the morning, but you can also see it throughout the day and how much it depletes. And so you get control of your forces. It's like in your car to see how much gas is left, on the gauge and so on, or electricity if you have an electric car. So I prefer Garmin, and if you have the Apple Watch, then the Athletic app is quite good. Athletic is the combination between athlete and analytic, so it's quite good. But otherwise, almost all smartwatches have some function with heart rate variability. And just a little insight, is so much better than no insight. Because as I said, we don't have this sense of our inner stress because our brain has always prioritized the threats from the outside. So we have excellent eyesight and excellent smell and taste and hearing and all of that. But the noise from our inner, system would just disturb that and be in the way of the good sense of the outward threats. So this is why we can't really feel this. A lot of people say that, okay, why do we need a watch for this? But we can't really feel this. And I would now not be able to sense if I have a 60 in heart rate or 85 in heart rate. which is quite a big step when it comes to stress levels and inflammation and disease. So we're not equipped to feel this stress level. That is why these watches and these rings, you have the Aura ring, it's also a favorite that can help us, and it's kind of a substitute for the sense that we never needed to develop until now. So we can't wait until we develop it. That would probably be millions of years until we can develop such a sense. But the heart rate will respond, in immediately if you're eating the wrong food or being drinking too much alcohol or haven't slept enough in the night and so on.
Yeah, and caffeine as well. I know a lot of people that think they can drink caffeine during that afternoon slump, or even brag that they can drink a cup of coffee before bed and it doesn't affect them. But tell us what you see in the data.
Yeah, yeah, and you will see that, and the Whoop, for example, they can tell that coffee in the morning is fine, until 12 o'clock. That's just good for your body. But if you keep drinking coffee into the afternoon or even into the evening, then it will disturb your sleep, even if you think that it will not. Because when in sleep labs, they will see that the sleep is not as intense and you will not get as easily into the important sleep phases of deep sleep and REM sleep and so on that you should. So I really advise people from drinking anything with coffee in afternoon, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm with you. Even as a physician, I'm not against caffeine. Caffeine is a performance enhancing drug. So it is sometimes all of the junk that people put in their coffee that can be a problem, all the sugar and nonsense. And then how late in the day. I have a hard rule, nothing after noon, but usually have caffeine before 10. But it's funny, I'm a slower metabolizer and I'm very sensitive. I know a couple people can drink a couple cups of coffee. I drink half caffeinated tea. And if I have a second one, I feel jittery and my Whoop registers stress. So
Yeah.
it really helped me understand how caffeine affects my body as an individual. And that's what I love about these wearables. Then you're not getting generalized data for the population, but super specific to you as a human yourself.
Yeah, because this shows how you react to certain things, because that has always also been very obvious. Because we have like 4,000 members in a community that we're having, and I can see that it's very individual how you respond to coffee or wine or a certain kind of food or exercise or cold plunge or whatever. And most research for us doctors, it's based on the average from like 1,000 people doing a certain thing, and then we get presented with the average of how the average person reacts to that. But that does not necessarily have anything to say for you, because you may be on an extreme side of those 1,000 people. So here you find out that what you react to and how you can mitigate it and regulate it. That's super important.
So for people to kind of that are newer to a wearable technology, I know the Whoop allows you to journal. You can put all kinds of information in, whether you had alcohol, whether you had sexual relations, whether you exercised, how much caffeine. How can people get started and not feel overwhelmed?
Well, they should, for the first month, I recommend people to not do anything. Just see how your nervous system is responding to life as
So
you
just
live
wear
it
it.
at the time. Yeah, just
Yeah,
wear it,
just wear
just
it.
see, yeah, so that you get a baseline, because I would have loved to know how my life was, 5 or 10 years ago when I had no clue about any of this. So it's a luxury to find out, even if you see that you're too stressed, just accept it and see how it looks, and then maybe after a month or 6 weeks, you can start, you will probably have found something that will surprise you. I'm sure that you have found something that will surprise you. I haven't heard of anyone that has not been surprised by what they find when they have this window into their body and physiology. So when you have found out something, then you can start, maybe it's sleep, that you find out, okay, now I'll try to sleep better for 2 or 3 weeks, go to bed a bit earlier, dim the lights, have a colder bedroom, all the advice that I have in the book, and see what happens. Maybe you need to cut down on alcohol. So many people do that. I would estimate that 75% of everyone who starts tracking their systems, they will reduce the amount of alcohol. That's one of the obvious things that you see. And then you can see what happens then, Yeah, then you can see what happens if I stop eating in the afternoon or in the late nights. So I recommend people not to eat anything 3 or 4 hours before they go to bed. And so you can start changing one thing at a time so that you can see the effect that certain thing has on your system. And probably, maybe many people will find out that their fitness level is too poor, that their VO2 max level is not really good. And it's a very, very important metric, both for health and longevity. So you may decide to exercise more. And that can be hard because if your fitness level is low, it takes almost so little effort until you have a huge need for recovery. Many people that will be very motivated and then they go out and do some hard training and they will just get inflammation in their systems and they will feel sick and they will be demotivated and they will quit. So if you find that you have a poor fitness level, you have to start really, really slow, much slower than you would think.
I think people want to kind of jump all in and do the whole thing because it's like with weight loss or fitness, they see the before and after picture where somebody's unhealthy and now they have a six-pack abs, and people want to get to that after picture so quick. But you're right, the number of people that overdo it, feel uncomfortable, and quit because they didn't utilize their own body's physiology and technology to get from that before and after, just taking a longer, safer route.
Yeah. Yeah, they underestimate the need for recovery that even small efforts requires if your fitness level is very low, because your mitochondria are not working, they're dysfunctional, they're not optimal. And well, that is good. So the whole thing also about the pulse gear is to optimize, or I would rather say normalize your cells and your mitochondria. So, and that will have benefits in all the organs, all over your body, including the brain. So we find out more and more that much of that what we call mental diseases, mental problems, it's poor energy metabolism in the brain, that the mitochondria are not working at their optimum. And that will create symptoms like brain fog, problems concentrating, and so on,
So
anxiety.
we're using too much energy and not replenishing it, and then we get the brain fog and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. So many people are thinking like we are machines, that we can go on and work hard and with the family life and go exercising and keep and be on constantly at some level, never turning off. And we're not made for that. We're not, our physiology is not made for this level of intensity.
I find that really interesting because I've heard a lot of top, fitness and health experts talk about that. We think that we're pushing ourselves because that's a very common mindset, right? Push, hustle culture, go, go, go. And we think that we're doing better for our bodies and people aren't getting the results that they want and they're tired. And it sounds like it's because they're not listening to the days that they can push and use more strain, and some days they should be using less.
Absolutely. And that can depend on, and that's very important, of course, for women, that the menstrual cycle has such a big impact on recovery. And you have probably seen that as well on your readings, that that is a very, very significant factor. So that the week before the first day of menstruation can be really, really hard for a lot of people. And then if you push too hard on your gym, then there's not enough forces to recover from that. So you will feel worse. And so the Norwegian football team of women, of course, that they use the Aura rings to be able to regulate the intensity of their exercise according to the menstrual cycle. So that's very important. But you can mitigate. It's not Stress has so much to say on everything about female reproduction. It is, and the hormones, because cortisol will have a feedback on the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland, and it will affect the estrogen and progesterone. And there will be less progesterone in the week before menstruation. And this is what will give you the PMS or PMDD, the dysphoric disorder symptoms. And they are avoidable. If you can mitigate the stress, you will get less of these symptoms. And also infertility, endometriosis, polycystic ovarian syndrome is also coupled to a dysfunction in the autonomic nervous system, which will be visible in the heart rate variability. And the heart rate variability is also, there's so much research now. It's connected to cancer, heart disease, dementia, Parkinson, almost any kind of disease that you can think of, and 9 out of the 10 deadliest diseases in the US. So, particularly if you work in the ER, the last one, the 10th disease that is not coupled to heart rate variability, that's road accidents. That's
Yes.
probably what you get a lot. So, but
That's
all,
people
all the
driving around
others,
and texting. People need to stop doing that.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, all these other diseases, and my group will even tell me it's been a while since I've had, a cold or respiratory infection, but I knew it was coming. It could tell by my physiology that, girl, you're about to get sick. You need to rest, you need to replenish, and all those things. So,
Yeah. Yeah,
how
because
does
the heart,
disease detection and prevention?
yeah, we can see it because the heart rate will respond before you get the symptoms of the disease. So many people find that even 2 days before a urinary tract infection or a COVID or the flu or whatever, that their heart rate reacts before they do, before they feel it. And on the other hand, after the disease, it will tell you how much more time you need to recover because that can depend on the severity of the disease. So after COVID, it can take so much longer time. And I think for me, my VO2 max, the fitness metric, it took almost 2 years to get back to the pre-COVID numbers that I had. So it can take so much more time. And even minor surgeries, many people are surprised by how much even a minor surgery, how long it can take before the heart rate variability is back because the body is working on solving this, post-surgery repair work. And we have kind of a closed budget. We only have so much energy to spend on the immune system, on our brain, on the daily function of the liver and kidney and all of this, so that if we put an extra load on this system, for example, by drinking alcohol, there is less for the immune system. And so after a night of alcohol or poor sleep, there will, for example, be less natural killer cells circulating in your body, doing the, patrolling, looking for cancer cells or infections or what have you. So that is why after you have been drinking, after you have been sleeping poorly for some time, you'll be more disposed to getting any kind of infection. And over time, for example, if you're sleeping less than 6 hours compared to more than 7 hours, you're doubling your risk of cancer. So it's all connected, and so we just need to help our body function normally. And until we are 45, we get all that for free. We're functioning. But after we get 45, we really have to help and do some effort. Otherwise, there'll be effort on the other end of disease, after we get sick. Because you've
Yes.
probably seen just as well as I did, to have a chronic inflammation disease after you get 50 or 60 is hard work. It will take a lot of time. You'll have a lot of symptoms. You will be restricted in so many ways in your life, so you can't live your life to the fullest.
Yeah, it's amazing because I have younger kids and they just seem to have boundless energy. And so they wake up every day with a full gas tank. But part of it is that, my husband and I prioritized them getting a good night's sleep. So, some kids are staying up late watching TV on devices. And that was one of the battles we chose. You have to choose your battles. But so, the screen time restrictions, early bedtime. So they truly do wake up every day with boundless energy. And some days I'm like, I wish they could just siphon some of that to me.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, so they don't have to work as hard for it. But as we get older, we do have to work a little bit harder for it. And our body has gone through some additional insult, whether it's COVID, whether it's stress or alcohol, we have less, money in the bank or gas in the tank for that recovery. So let's talk about some ways. You've mentioned some, whether it's cold plunges or sleep. Let's get a list of things that can help put more gas in our tanks, those of us who aren't 10 years old anymore. So we
Yeah,
replenish.
so absolutely. And that would be getting enough sleep. That would be by far the most important thing, to allow your body to do what it's best at, to recover during sleep. So that you don't really have to do anything, the body just does that. As opposed to if you want to do breathing exercises or breath work, you have to do it. You have to be active, and the aim of that is to breathe slowly, to slow down your breath from maybe 12 or 13 or 14 breaths a minute and down to 6 breaths a minute. Around that seems to be a sweet spot for most people. And that's kind of a signal to your brain, this old part of your brain that interprets, like breaths and the heart rate and all of this. That is calm outside. We can relax. The immune system, the natural killer cells can go out and do their job again. It's no fight, seems to be no fight in the close future. So breathing slowly is what you will find is the best thing to calm your mind and the easiest thing also. So available to anyone. And because it's always, you're always breathing, and of course you're always breathing unconsciously, but we can also breathe consciously to calm ourselves down in the most effective way. And then cold is even more effective. But it's of course not always available. You cannot always get into the shower. You may be at work or anything, but you can start the day with a cold shower and have a normal shower first, and then maybe a couple of minutes on the really coldest. It will never be comfortable, but it will switch your autonomic nervous system into the parasympathetic mode. So there's something about the cold that is reducing inflammation. And it's probably also, again, an ancient signals from, a million years ago, where in the nighttime it was cold, even in Africa where we come from. And of course, they didn't have heating or any of the thing we have today. So it was cold, and it's kind of a signal to recover. So people, and you probably see that on your watch as well, that if it's a hot night in your bedroom, you will not recover as well as if it's a cold night. Have you seen that? Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I actually just did 2 back-to-back camping trips. One of them was unseasonably warm in Northern California. So it was still in the high 90 degrees at sleep time. And you're in a tent, so you can't affect your temperature. And my sleep was very poor. And versus camping in Michigan, when it dropped down to 50 at night and I'm snuggled under my blankie, I slept great. It was
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. Yeah, so you see this immediately that heat and cold has a large, huge effect on your recovery rate, which is, of course, why you cannot do much if it's a heat wave. You're kind of not very productive. You can hardly stay, awake or productive at all. So this is why also the national gross product of nations, they will increase the more away from you get from the equator because it's colder and you have more energy actually to do the work. So,
And I'm glad you said about the
yeah,
cold, because I've done cold plunges and I do cold showers. I need to get more consistent about that. I'm glad, because I keep thinking, oh, I'm eventually going to start liking this or it's going to get more comfortable. But you made me feel a lot better by saying that small thing. It's never comfortable. But
yeah,
the reason that you're doing I mean, because I know as a scientist, the benefits of cold plunge and cold showers. Thank you for normalizing that. It can suck
yeah,
and it's
yeah.
still good for your body.
Yeah, and the motivating factor with these wearables, and particularly Garmin, because that's the one where you can see it kind of immediately, is that you can see the effect of doing the hard things, like fasting is also very, very is one of the things that will give you just like in breath work and the cold, fasting, actually not eating will give you energy. And that was something I did not know. But then, of course, it's more motivating to skip breakfast or eat less during the day when you see the result on your monitor and the cold plunges and the breath work. So it's easier to do the hard things. And on the other hand, it's easier to abstain from the things that will make your stress balance worse, like alcohol when you see the result, candy, late night meals, and pizzas and everything that you react to. It's so much easier to stay away from that because you don't think of those things in the same way as you did before when you see the result on your system. And everybody gets, I get kind of addicted to being refreshed in the morning, and so instead of addicted to, because I used to drink alcohol every day. That was even recommended, 10, 15 years ago, that 2 glasses of wine for men and 1 glass of wine for women every day. That was recommended because they were looking at the places in the world where people live the longest. And then they could find out that they were drinking, some alcohol every day. But it was not the alcohol that made them live longer, but that they were social and had good relations, and that was a big impact. because now we know that good relations is so important for people and also for the nervous system. And we can see that on our watches. So many people see that when they are communicating with a certain colleague, they're fine, but with another colleague on the same subjects, they're stressed, so that they can see this on their watches, how important relationships are.
It is. And it's funny about the alcohol because a lot of it is the social component. And certainly the alcohol companies love this narrative that we should drink every day because it supports their business. But when you're staring in the face of your own body's data saying this is not supporting you, but seeing like, hey, being around this person helps your heart rate variability, being around this person does not, eating candy or sugar or late at night, when you see the actual effect on your own body, you're right. Those things lose their appeal a lot. Before there was these guilt words associated with it, like junk food or you did something bad. But now I'm like you. I look at it as, am I nourishing my body? Am I getting energy, like excellent energy to use, or is it
Yeah.
costing me?
Yeah, because you want to use your energy on your family and your kids and not
Yes.
on a late night meal or treating 2 glasses of alcohol when you see the cost, when you're seeing the real cost of it, the physiological cost of the alcohol. So, and then it's easier to find out, okay, I need so much energy for the different, things that you want to do in life. So it's easier to make those decisions.
Yeah, I actually have on my board over, I mean, I'm pointing as if anyone can see it, but on my wall, just that, like, money and time are essentially energy. And how do I want to spend mine? Do I want to spend it on things that I find valuable? So I wrote out a list of things that I value. And so I want to have the energy in order to be able to do those things, make a contribution to the world, help my patients' lives, spend amazing time with my family, have these great experiences. And so now when I'm weighing out some late night chocolate binge with a glass of wine, I know that it's what it's costing me is the energy to do these things that I want to do.
Yeah, and before I had these wearables, I had no clue. I would never wake up in the morning and think that how I feel now is because of what I was eating at 6 or 7 o'clock yesterday. Would not even occur to me that it would have any connections. You would just wake up in the morning and okay, I feel this and that. Okay, well, it must have been something at night. You didn't even think about this. I didn't anyway. Maybe you did. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I think a lot of people don't necessarily know that connection because that high inflammatory food that you ate, it takes your body, so long to metabolize it and to mitigate that inflammation that you caused. It's not instant. So that
Hmm.
lag effect is something that I really wasn't putting the thought into. And you're like, why am I dragging today? I didn't do anything, wrong today, but look at the 3 days prior and you'll see why you don't have energy today.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And so many people also find out that they have some food intolerance, that when they eat a certain food, they get more inflammation, a higher heart rate than other kinds of food, and they may find out what it is because it can be very hard, but most people find out it's gluten or milk, that's the big ones. But other people may have real trouble, doing the detective work of what is causing this high heart rate and this inflammation. And then often when they go to the doctor and take the test for food intolerances, they can see that there's several ones, and they would never be able to do this detective work. It can be 10 different sources. And then when they quit these foodstuffs, then often they will write to me and tell me that the symptoms that they had for like 20, 30 years are all gone. And like brain fog, muscle pains, and stomach problems. So much of this irritable bowel syndrome and the many other problems and symptoms connected to the bowel, when they reduce the eating window, maybe till 8 or 9 hours a day, and they don't eat after that, and also may do some fasting, sometimes, then so many people get rid of those symptoms from their bowel, and so many, particularly women, have that. So,
Yeah, I think that because we look at foods like, oh, it's a privilege, like I get to eat a bunch of chocolate or wine or something like that. And by not doing it, you are taking it away or depriving yourselves, that kind of deprivation diet culture that I don't find to be very mentally helpful. But when you look at it now as the cost, and I get to feel good and energetic by not choosing to put these things in my body, it really switches the narrative around those type of things.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And you will
Yeah.
find some like for me, I see that chili, that's terrible. See, if I eat chili, then it's almost like drinking alcohol, or it's comparable to it. Then the whole night will be a disaster. And
Ah,
so the problem is that they put chili in everything.
right.
And they often do not say that it's in there because it's not an allergic, you'll not get an allergic reaction, but you will get a reaction to your heart rate variability, or many people do. Many people do not, but it's one of the things that I can see a lot of people have a problem with chili.
That's interesting. And I love that you talked about the detective work because I see a lot of patients just accepting, like, oh, I'm just getting older. I have to accept that this is how I feel now. But it's not. You're not doomed to feel like this. There's a lot of empowerment and a lot of choice. But by getting the wearables, getting your data, diving into, doing an elimination diet or getting some food sensitivity testing, people don't have to feel this way.
Yeah, absolutely. Because what they call aging is usually inflammaging, that it's inflammation instead. So they wouldn't need to feel that way. So because, as I said in the beginning, most of the diseases that we treat these days they are inflammation, chronic inflammation from all the different stressors that we have in our lives.
What I love is the testimonials, the people in your community, the people who have read the book, because we all expect in order to feel better, things need to be complicated, difficult to understand, and expensive.
Yeah,
And so,
but it's the opposite. It's totally the opposite. It's easy to find and it's free. So what you need to do to be healthy and avoid getting sick is all free. It's doing meditation, it's sleeping well, it's being outside in nature, getting enough sunlight, staying away from alcohol, drinking water for hydration, exercising, and breath work. So it's all free. It's all accessible to anyone. It's after you get sick, then it gets expensive, and then there will be a difference whether you have a huge, thick wallet or not, and all these things are also easy that I say that after you've read the Pulse Cure, which most people read in like 6 hours, and the audiobook I think is like 7 hours, you know almost everything that you need to know to lead a healthy life. And the interesting thing is that you will know more than 90% of doctors, because so many doctors, I'm not sure if what is your experience, in the US, but at least in Norway, I would say 80-90% of doctors, they don't know so much about preventative healthcare. They only know how to treat people after they get sick. So they didn't teach, they were not taught how to create health. They were only taught how to treat disease and find disease.
I feel like that is very true. I mean, in the US, it is a sick care system. And by all means, people need to utilize it. If you do have an illness or a trauma or in a car crash, utilize that type of medicine. But I agree. I don't think there's enough emphasis on what if we could help people upstream so they don't need that. They don't need these medications with side effects. They don't need this expensive therapy when you can do something that you said it's not 87 steps in a $5,000 program. It's you breathe, take it, like get a plant, take a deep breath.
Yeah,
There
yeah,
are very inexpensive things that people can do to avoid this
mm,
whole spectrum of a disease.
yeah, absolutely. And then, of course, when we can see the result on our watches in real time, it gets so much easier to do that. So that is a nice thing, that what is good for you will be demonstrated and revealed in the heart rate, and what is bad for you also. You will see it. Most of the things anyway.
Yes, seeing is believing. I mean, the proof is in your own body. So for the people out there thinking this has to be too good to be true, because we are so conditioned to think things need to be hard, you'll get your own data. You will see
Yeah.
for yourself how your cold showers and your deep breathing and your sleep matter to your body. There's
Mm.
the proof is right there.
Yeah, yeah. And you only need to have good enough control. There's no need to be a perfectionist paying attention to the heart rate at all times. It's not that it's not that hard. So you just need to have a good enough balance, and these devices will give you the answer to that. And if you find that you're too stressed and then there's too much load on your system, you may need help. You may need to show it to your doctor and to find out, because it could be deficiency of vitamin B12 or vitamin D, of iron. So many people have found that out. And so many people also have found that it could be even cancer. That when they have seen that, okay, for the last 3 or 4 weeks, my numbers are just getting down, there's nothing I can do. And at least 5 people that I know of have been going to the doctor, and it was cancer. Because just like all these other diseases, cancer is something that will be shown in the heart rate. And you can just Google that. You can just Google any kind of cancer, or at most kind of cancer, and Google it with heart rate variability, and you will find that there's a connection there. So that is what you can see also. So if you use the watches and you see that you are too stressed constantly, and you cannot, even if you do the techniques in the pulse cure and you're still stressed, there could be something that your doctor needs to be aware of and to investigate what is the reason for this.
That's that
And it could be
intersection.
hormones, it could be a thyroid problem, and many other problems that you need your doctor help to find out.
Yeah, that intersection between that empowerment and the personal autonomy and utilizing medical experts. But this way it's more personalized medicine. It's not a doctor who learning about the averages and guessing where you fall in that average, but actually knowing where you fall, so you
Yeah.
can get that targeted personalized medicine.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think
Excellent.
it's and one of the other nice things is that there's money on the front side of disease. Because there's too much money to be made on sick people. So now the producers of these devices, they are making money on making products that can help us stay healthy. And that is, I think, is a very good thing, that there's money on this side of health and not on the after you get sick.
Yeah, because any business, I mean, money is the lifeblood of business. So, follow the money and see where it goes. But that we are having, I'm glad there is some money to be made. So people say, oh, I don't want to invest the, very little bit into a Whoop, and we'll throw a coupon code even in the, in the show notes. But that little investment up front, think about it saving you so much money downstream in cancer treatments and diabetes treatments and stress, because we're taking those very inexpensive ways to mitigate those.
Yeah, absolutely. And in addition to that, you will feel better. You'll have better well-being. You'll have a better performance level also. So
Yeah.
there are a lot of other good side effects to getting your stress in balance.
Yeah, it's so funny. We hear these commercials. I don't know if they have them in Norway, where they talk about a drug and then they have to list these side effects, and they say it really fast, like all these horrible things. And the side effect of, you know, listening to the Pulse Cure or reading it, however you choose to consume it, getting a wearable and knowing your data, the side effect is more energy, more vitality, and less disease.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, if
So
they had a pill of that, it would be multi-billion, it'd be trillions of dollars. But it's available now.
yeah, absolutely. So it's already work. It will probably get better, by the month. It seems so, at least the 5 years that I've been using these devices, that that's something happening all the time. New products, new they get better, all the time. And particularly now with artificial intelligence and so many people using it, it gets really, really useful.
It is. I love the wearables. I've seen such an increase in people coming to the ER because their watch is telling them they have atrial fibrillation or something like that. The earlier we can catch things, the better. So I see this as just a huge benefit, that having the increase in the improvements in technology and the longevity. I've been wearing this thing for ages. I like the Whoop because it can charge, and you can wear it for days and days. My Apple Watch I have to charge every night, so I don't track my sleep data. Plus, I don't want people texting me in the middle of the night, waking me up. The Whoop, you
Yeah,
can't get a text on, which is a lovely
yeah.
non-distractible device.
Yeah. So there's so many devices to choose from. So if you don't want to be too much disturbed by this knowledge, and the Whoop band is good, you'll get a report in the morning, you'll get a weekly report, and you'll get a monthly report, and that's more or less it. While on the Garmin watch, you will get a reading every time, and you can kind of micromanage your stress levels. But not everybody will want to do that. But if they want, then they can do that best with the Garmin. And then, as you say, you have the Apple Watch, you have the Aura Ring. Soon, Samsung is coming with their Galaxy Ring and their new watches. So there's so much happening all the time here.
Yeah. So honestly, it doesn't matter what technology you get. Pick your favorite brand, but use it, utilize it to take charge of your health.
Hmm. Yeah, that's what it's for.
Yes. And you put out a lot of good content in this area. So, I mean, people definitely reading or listening to the Pulse Cure is helpful because then you have that baseline of information. And then I follow you on Instagram. So I see your posts there. What's your favorite social media platform for people to come find you on?
Now that would be Instagram.
That's what I thought.
And yeah, and we are also making the pulsecure.com, which is a social website. In the Norwegian part of it, we have 4,000 members, and we're just constructing the international part now, as the book is in the US and the UK and all over the world. So it will be interesting, but usually it's Facebook or Instagram that I use. And I try to
Yes.
use as much English as I can in the Norwegian one, but of course there are so many Norwegian followers as well, so I need to find the balance there.
Fair enough. We enjoy listening to it, even if we can't understand anything you're saying. But
I usually subtitle it, as I
yes,
usually subtitle it in English, and then I may talk in Norwegian. So
that's actually kind of fun. Anyway, I love listening to it. So your Instagram is Dr. Torkil, Torkil, and all this will be in the show
mhm.
notes, thepulsecure.com, your website, your Instagram handles. Any parting words for our listeners about the Pulse Cure or about how they can take control of their
Hmm.
health?
No, it would just be that it's possible to take control of your health, and that you will feel better, and that is easy and cheaper than you would think is too good to be true. Even I thought that some years ago, but it's not.
I love it. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. We'll put all the information in the show notes, some coupon codes for some of these wearables. And thank you again for this amazing conversation.
Yeah, thank you for having me on your podcast.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the Navigating Hope podcast. Our guest today was Dr. Torkil Færø, a physician, best-selling author, and expert on leveraging technology to enhance health and wellness. In his latest book, The Pulse Cure, Dr. Færø shares how wearables like heart rate monitors and smartwatches can provide valuable insights into our body's stress, energy, and overall health. Let's dive into those 5 key takeaways from our conversation. Number 1, heart rate variability is key to understanding stress. Dr. Færø explained the importance of heart rate variability as a measure of how well your nervous system is functioning. Heart rate variability helps track stress levels and provides early warning signs of burnout, chronic fatigue, and other stress-related conditions. Number 2, wearable technology empowers personal health management. Wearables like smartwatches and fitness trackers give individuals real-time data on their health, making it easier to manage stress, improve sleep, and optimize your overall well-being. By monitoring metrics like your heart rate variability, your heart rate, and recovery rates, you can gain insight into how your lifestyle choices are impacting your health. And that's why a lot of those devices even have a journaling function, such as, so you can see how if your exercise at a certain time of day affects your sleep, or having caffeine later in the day affects your sleep, consuming any alcohol, all of those things, you can see what your lifestyle choices are and get objective data on how it's impacting your health. Takeaway number 3, chronic inflammation, that hidden health threat. Many modern diseases, so heart disease, autoimmune conditions, are rooted in chronic inflammation. He highlighted how stress, poor diet, alcohol use, lack of sleep contribute to inflammation, and wearables can help you identify those triggers early. Number 4, the role of sleep and rest in recovery. Sleep is one of the most powerful tools for recovery and maintaining optimal health. Dr. Færø stressed the importance of prioritizing sleep and how wearable technology can help you monitor and improve your sleep quality while allowing the body to recover and prevent illness. And lastly, number 5, cold exposure and breath work, those natural stress relievers. Simple practices like cold plunges and slow deep breathing are highly effective in reducing stress and inflammation. Dr. Færø encouraged incorporating these techniques into daily routines, explaining that they can help activate your parasympathetic, which is your calming nervous system, and promote recovery. So are you ready to take control of your health? We've got a free downloadable for you in the show notes for smarter goals, so you can utilize this goal setting process to help you do these key things to help reduce your inflammation, your stress, and improve your metrics like heart rate variability. So that is in the show notes. Also information on how to find more about Dr. Torkil Færø. Health isn't about waiting until you're sick. It's about staying proactive and empowered. By harnessing the power of technology and making simple, non-intimidating lifestyle changes, you can optimize your well-being and prevent future illnesses. So stay mindful, stay balanced, and as always, keep navigating your journey with hope. Thank you for tuning into Navigating Hope with me, Dr. Jaime Hope. It has been an honor to navigate the realms of health and wellness with you today. Remember, in the journey toward a healthier life, knowledge is your compass. If you enjoyed our time together, please share, like, and subscribe to Navigating Hope. Join us next week where we'll continue to empower your health journey, arming you with the wisdom to navigate life's challenges and keep the emergency room in your rearview mirror.